Guys, big up yourselves for coming through again each and every time. Much appreciated. And as I said, make sure you smash that like button and make sure you sub to the channel. I think we're on 1.4K. So I think, what are we on? I think might be about 50 short, I think, of 1.5K. So again, if you do enjoy the content, guys, check out all the other content. And as always, make sure you guys smash that like button and help the channel to grow. But big up yourselves, as I said, each and every time. Keep your questions coming in, guys. And as I said, once I finish discussing what I've discussed, I will definitely get back to you people each and every time. Big up to the Royalty Master, big up to Jay, and big up to Daniela Iacona as well for coming through. Yes, guys, I'm all good. I'm all good, you know. Obviously, yeah, just getting this content out for you guys. And as I said, you guys turning up all the time is much appreciated. And as I said, as always, keep bringing through your keep bringing through your comments and questions. And as I said, I'll definitely get back to you guys once I finish discussing what I've done. Big up to Barbara Joseph as well. Big up for coming on. So yeah, guys, obviously some news broke yesterday from what I see. Eduardo Camavinga. Eduardo Camavinga. And you know what it is? I'm a massive fan of Camavinga. You know, he's someone that, you know, I wish Man United would have signed when he left Rennes, you know. And again, a player of that quality was very hard to get, because when you've got someone that makes their debut as young as he did, I believe he made his debut for Rennes when he was, I want to say 16. I think it might have been 15 or 16. And as usual, what happens when you get players that make their debut for their clubs at that age, you know, they always end up going to a Barcelona, a Real Madrid, you know, a Man City, Chelsea. That's the kind of clubs that these players end up at, you know. And if you look at Camavinga, there was no surprise that he ended up at Real Madrid. Big up to Wayne Griffins as well. So yeah, when he went to Real Madrid, I mean, there was no surprise, because that's the path of a player like Camavinga. I think it's safe to say, as good as a player he is, his career so far hasn't gone the way that many would have predicted, you know. And for me, big up to 40 years life. And for me, you know, I still think he's a top player. Obviously, injuries have kind of halted his progression so far. But Camavinga is still only 22 years of age, you know, and it seems like Camavinga has been around for years. Again, made his debut for Rennes at 16, you know, and obviously had the number 10 on his back at Rennes as well before he went to Real Madrid. But I believe Camavinga, for me, you know, and this is what I was saying to you guys earlier as before as well. You know, left-footed central midfielders of that quality are a rarity, and this is why, you know, Carlos Baleba for me is a must signing. You look at Camavinga, you look at Fabian Ruiz, who are both at two of the top teams in the world, and then you've got Baleba for me, left-footed central midfielders. So, as I said, the fact that I heard yesterday, and again, I'm not sure if this is true, and if it is true, then I might surprise you guys. But if Camavinga's available, I'm gonna go Camavinga ahead of Carlos Baleba. And again, I can't believe I'm actually saying that, but I rate Camavinga that highly. I think when he's fit, he's one of the best midfielders in the world. You know, I think at this moment in time, the three best central midfielders in world football on current form are Moises Caicedo, Vitinha, and Pedri. Them three, for me, are the best three central midfielders right now. But I think Camavinga, if he has an injury-free season, definitely can be regarded as one of the best in the world. And as I said, I want Baleba at Man United, no doubt. But if there is a sneak feeling that Camavinga is available, then I think I have to go Camavinga, you know. And I've been hearing like he's available for 69 million. Great number. Great number. But yeah, I heard he's available for 69 million. Now, whether that's concrete or not, I'm not too sure. But From what I was reading yesterday, I can't remember who reported it, but yeah, he might be available in this transfer window for 69 million. And if he is, then you're gonna see a lot more clubs come in for him, not just if Man United are reported to be in for him. Because to get a player of that level, and again, you know, it's about keeping himself injury free. But to get a player of his level for 69 million, and again, he's only 22 years of age, so he's only a year older than Carlos Baleba. I think it's too good of an opportunity to turn down for me, and I think for me, definitely, yeah, I'd love Man United to be in the ring for Camavinga. I think the best thing to say is that if Brighton say, look, we're not selling him for any price, and United try to exhaust all their avenues to try and get Baleba, then if that's the case and Man United pivot to Camavinga, I'll be happy, man. But guys, let me know what you think about Camavinga. So Wayne says Camavinga is very versatile. The club that will get him will have a gem in their hands. 100% agree, Wayne. Couldn't disagree. As I said, I think you're looking at, along with the three that I've mentioned already, in Vitinha, Pedri, and Moises Caicedo, I definitely do believe that Camavinga is up there, And again, he's left-footed in comparison to the other three that are all right-footed. So yeah, I think he definitely has everything to become, amongst those three if he stays fit. And if he is available for 69 million, that is a bargain price for a player at that level at 22. And as I said, I've not heard any indication from Real Madrid that he's available. But again, Real Madrid are I think with Real Madrid, as we know what they do, they just look at who's the up and coming midfielder to try and get. And again, Camavinga's still young, but has been a bit injury prone. Who knows? Xabi Alonso might want to go in a different way and might feel there's better play. There's not better players, but there's different profile of a player in comparison to a Camavinga. I think they've been linked with the likes of Adam Walton as well, who's a top player. But as I said, man, if Camavinga is available, and United cannot get Baleba, even if Baleba is gettable, I think I have to go with Camavinga. I think I have to go. And as Wayne said, he is a gem, man. 100%. 100%. So, yeah, it's one of them things, man, where it's difficult. It's difficult, but I think if Camavinga becomes available, man, you cannot let him have a free run, whether it's a Chelsea, a City, a Liverpool, PSG, Bayern Munich. You cannot let those clubs have a free run, because 69 million is nothing to pay for a player of that level. And as I said, he possesses everything. The fact that he's left-footed as well. He'll make any team in the world stronger for me if he manages to stay fit. That is. So Jay says at least so, and also Camavinga shouldn't go to a small club. He should go to a club where he will start. But this is the thing: any club Camavinga goes to, he starts for me. Like, he's that good. Like, I don't think, like, people that might not be aware of Camavinga, but Camavinga is another level, man. Like, he's one of the best midfielders in the world. I can't think of a team that he doesn't start at, because as good as Man City's team is right now, if you've got, obviously Rodri's out injured, but if you've got Reinders and Camavinga as a midfield too, that's great. That's a great balance there. And obviously if Rodri comes back, you can play them as a free, but what a player to still have as well. Liverpool's midfield, he'll slot into there, no problem. You think of McAllister and Gravenberch, he's every bit as good as them, if not better for me. Chelsea, imagine him. I mean, Lavia for me is a top player, but if Lavia can't stay fit, imagine a midfield two of Camavinga and Moises Caicedo. I mean, that would be illegal. That would actually be illegal, because you've got two players who are tenacious. One's left-footed, one's right-footed. And imagine those two as a midfield pairing, providing a platform for the likes of a Cole Palmer to play in the 10 and just get on the ball and create havoc. Imagine that. So yeah, he can go and play for any team in the world. Barcelona, he could play for. Imagine him in the midfield three with Frankie De Jong and Pedri. Just imagine that. So yeah, he can go and play for any team in the world for me, no doubt. And as I said, if he is available, Man United need to seriously think, because as I said, I want Baleba, but I'm sorry, man. As much as I rate Baleba highly, I think I'm looking at Camavinga for me as being, as I say, number one midfielders in the world for me when he's fit. Because I think Pedri, Vitinha, and Caicedo are the only three midfielders that can really chat to Eduardo Camavinga. So yeah, I just hope United, are interested if he does be made if he does become available. So Wayne says, who do you think has a bigger future, Mastantuono or Gavi? I mean, they're different players for a start. Gavi's a central midfielder, and Gavi's got a bit of a tough time getting game time at Barca. Not because he's not good enough, but Pedri's an automatic. Frankie de Jong's an automatic for me as well. And then you've got the likes of Danny Olmo, who can play in the 10. You've got, what's his name? Casado, again, coming from the youth. Yeah, they've got quality in there, man. But Gavi's a good player. He is. I think the injury that he suffered, set him back a bit. But obviously, Barcelona rate him highly, so he will be getting game time. But he's more of a central midfielder. Franco Mastantuono is more of a number 10 that can play out from the right. I look at Mastantuono as a Arda Güler type player, someone that can play as a 10 and play out wide as well on the right hand side. So it's quite hard to directly compare them. But in terms of who do I believe has the bigger career, I'd probably say Gavi. I'd probably say Gavi, and that's because Gavi's Spanish. He's not leaving Barcelona. I think he's at Barcelona for the entirety of his career. And I think with Mastantuono, again, being South American, coming to Real Madrid, as we know with Real Madrid, if you're not performing, they go and find the next big player, really. So I think just based on that, Gavi for me is slightly ahead. He will slightly have the better future in terms of, Barca are always going to protect him coming through La Masia, and Mastantuono, as I said, is someone that, in a sense, needs to hit the ground running, if we're being honest. Because as we know, Real Madrid always go and look for the next talent coming through. But two players for me that are very good, two of the best young players in Europe. But I'm going to say just Gavi, But again, things can change, But big up. 40 Years Live says, yeah, I think Camavinga will be perfect at United. He will replace Ugarte and will score an assist and be an asset to the team. Yeah, listen, Camavinga is a massive upgrade on the likes of Ugarte. As I said, for the start, he's left-footed and adds that balance in central midfield. And with Camavinga, he is press-resistant, unlike Ugarte. He's very tenacious on the ball in the tackle. And he has the ability to get goals as well. I think his goal record at the moment isn't great. But I think someone of that level, man, he's definitely a massive upgrade. And as I said, if he is available for 69 million, that is an absolute bargain for what is being quoted for some players. So, yeah, as I said, it's some news that I see yesterday. And I think Man United might be involved. And I'm just hoping it's true, because if United happen to get Camavinga or Baleba, then they've done very well. I mean, me personally, it's not going to happen, but me being greedy, I'd say go and get both of them. But the problem is they're both left-footed, and I know obviously you have a lot of right-footers in the team, but United are not going to spend 169 million or just above that, or 170, 80 million on Camavinga and Baleba. That's never going to happen. So, but if United happen to get one of those, I'm not fussed. If it's Baleba, then of course Baleba is the number one signing for me. But if Camavinga becomes available, then yeah, I think Camavinga for me has to be he has to be slightly the number one for me because he's going to cost possibly less. Well, he'll cost less than Baleba, and at this moment in time now, I know he's had a few injuries, but he's ahead in his career for me as well, and he's a year older, so there's not much in it. But as I said, man, I'm a massive fan of Carlos Baleba, but Camavinga, yeah, for me is yeah, he's a top player, man, 100%. In my opinion, if Camavinga is getting sold because he doesn't fit Xabi Alonso's formation, I don't think he won't fit our team because he will have the same formation, but I would love to have him. Yeah, big up to Roy Master. I disagree with that though. Massively disagree with that. It's not about Camavinga not fitting Real Madrid's formation because he does. Because Camavinga is a central midfielder that can play in a 2, 3 at the back, and can play in a 2, a 4 at the back, you know. I think Camavinga's a kind of profile of player, and again, because he's left-footed, he gives so much balance to a midfield. Again, he can play left back as well, but you don't want to see him play left back. But the fact that he is press resistant, you know, he's very good in tight spaces as well. He's tenacious in the tackle. He suits any system. You know, he's one of those rare midfielders that can play in any system. He can, because he's that adaptable, that multifunctional as well. So the thing with Xabi Alonso, it's not a case where he won't fit Xabi Alonso's system. It's just that, as we know with Real Madrid, you know, Real Madrid like to go and find the next player, you know, or it might be a case where, you know, Xabi Alonso might prefer a different sort of profile to for his team. Who knows? Who knows? But to say that he won't fit Man United's team, nah, I massively disagree with that because if you bring in an Eduardo Camavinga, he automatically becomes your best midfielder. That's how good he is. So Camavinga, Baleba, these guys automatically come in and start. And they've got the added incentive as well that they're both left-footed. So, as I said, man, yeah, big up for your comment, Roy Master, but massively disagree, man. Like, Camavinga is a game changer, just like Baleba. And as I said, if Man United get either one of them players, you know, it's a great window for me. At this moment in time now, I look at United's window, and I think the window is I'm going to say the window at the moment is I'm trying to think, a 6 or a 7. I'm going to say the window is a 6, and I'll tell you why. Because, again, Cunha and Mbeumo coming in has been 2 great signings, no doubt, you know, and 2 signings that United need to make. Sesko, for me, wasn't the striker that I wanted United to sign, but he's here now, and obviously, if he's part of Rasmus getting at the window, getting at the club, then I'm here for that. But I think the midfield was the priority for me. You know, I would have preferred United get a midfielder in if it meant you get either Mbeumo or Cunha, because I think that midfield is a massive problem. And as I said, the fact that United got Mbeumo and Cunha, I'm happy. You know, Sesko coming in, fair enough. But the midfielder for me, if it's a Camavinga or a Baleba, takes the window to a 8 for me. I think for it to be a 10 is if United got 2 midfielders in, which I don't see happening. So, but if a Camavinga comes in, you know, I think just how good Camavinga is, you could possibly say 8 or a 9. 8 or a 9, you know. Baleba the same thing, because I think it's that crucial getting in a left-footed central midfielder. But at the moment now, I'll probably say it's a 6 at the moment. But a midfield signing, if it's either one of them 2, easily takes it up to an 8, possibly a 9. Who knows? You know, but you'll have to wait and see what happens, you know. Jay says, imagine getting Baleba and Camavinga. That would be an insane midfield. You would have to get top 4. But as I mentioned, Jay, that's never going to happen because even though they are both left-footed, And the thing is, I mean, if you gave me a choice to get both of them, of course, and this whole having two left footers in the midfield, I don't really care, man, because you're getting two quality players. But that's not gonna happen. I'm just hoping, it's either or. Camavinga or Baleba, just have to get one of them. You know what I mean? Because it's for so many reasons. I think these two players, personally, are, they're reminiscent of each other. They're both box to box midfielders, both left footed, both press resistant, both aggressive in the tackle, both tenacious, So they would suit Man United like a glove. And as I said, getting either one of them, if Man United get either one of them players, I'm looking minimum top six, pushing for top four minimum. That's how big a signing I think these two players will be with what United have at the moment as well. Big up to Minister Knight, says, plus he has a proven to be able to slot into defence as well if needed. He can possibly act as a foil for the sweeper role. Minister Knight, who are you talking about? Is that Camavinga? Let me know who you're talking about, because I'm a bit confused with that one. But big up. Big up to Abdel Majid, says, from Algeria. Yeah, big up, man. Algeria have some serious talent, man, that have come to the Premier League and played abroad as well. Zidane's Algerian. That says it all. I think is Benzema Algerian, or he might be Algerian. I think Benzema might even be Algerian as well, Algerian born. Riyad Mahrez, as we know, top player. You know what I mean? So yeah, Algeria, man, they bring through some serious talent. Some serious talent. Big up to Blue Edits. Yeah, big up, J-Man. Big up. So Blue Edit says, we desperately need a new goalkeeper. We could manage without a midfielder, but goalkeeper is crucial for us. I disagree. You know what I would say, yeah? I know people don't rate Onana, and again, you've got Bayin there who isn't the level as well. But for me, I look at, can Man United get through a season if they get a midfielder in with the likes of Onana in goal? I think they can. I think what people need to realise as well is that as Onana hasn't been great, you know what I mean? And again, he hasn't been great, and we know that. But if you've got a defence in front of him, or if you've got a system that can protect your goalkeeper that gets shot after shot on goal, then you probably get a more confident Onana, and you'd probably see that you don't really need the emergency for getting a goalkeeper isn't really going to be there for me personally. I think if the team's set up in the right way, and you can protect Onana in terms of not having shot after shot on goal, for me, it's not really an essential thing to go and get a goalkeeper. I do think in the future, that will be looked at, no doubt. But Man United need a midfielder more desperately than they actually need a keeper for me, 100%. Because the midfield is more of a problem than the goalkeeper for me. And again, people might disagree. But as I said, if you've got a system and a structure that allows your defence to be more compact and not allow, too many shots at goal, then Onana is not really that much of a problem, in my opinion. And again, midfield for me is crucial. It is crucial because if you've got a good balance in midfield, it tends to mean that your defence will be more secure as well, and it will filter down to the team. The midfield is the engine room, and it's the crucial part of the team, and that midfield is all over the place. So, as I said, man, I think definitely, United will be in for a goalkeeper in the future. But for me, it's not a necessity in comparison to midfield. So midfield is the more crucial position, because you go and change the goalkeeper, you're still going to have that same midfield of Bruno, Ugarte, Casemiro that isn't great. Let's be honest, it isn't great. So yeah, midfield for me needs to be rectified, definitely. That's what I think needs to be targeted. Big up to Chris and Mark. Big up for coming on. Mark says Camavinga to Liverpool. Hey, listen, if they was to get Camavinga, as I said, at this moment in time now, from what I've seen, I said start of the season, I said the work that Liverpool done in the transfer window, I made Liverpool slight favourites. From what I've seen opening game, I think City for me. And if they get Rodrigo, which again, Rodrigo got no minutes yesterday. I know Xabi Alonso has come out and said, you know, he rates Rodrigo, but again, when he's getting no minutes, that's obviously gonna piss Rodrigo off. Pep obviously likes Rodrigo, but needs to obviously sell Savinho if that's to happen. But just seeing what Man City done against Wolves, for me, City are the slight favourites for me again. However, if they go and get a Camavinga, yeah, listen, Liverpool back in pole position for me, because I think this midfielder is a midfielder that is one of the best in the world when he's fit. So yeah, but again, can I see Camavinga going to Liverpool? I hope not, and hopefully Man United, if he is available in the market, you know, they show some intent. As I said, Camavinga or Baleba for me, then I'm happy. Wayne says, Camavinga shows great maturity for his age. He's a super young and will bring a lot of experience to the team. It is a golden chance for Man United to sign him. I agree, man. I agree. I think, yeah, as I said, I'm a massive fan of Baleba because I want Baleba at United. But if Camavinga's available, just go and get Camavinga, man. For 69 million, what's been reported, no brainer. You know, because United were linked to Camavinga before he actually went to Real Madrid. But again, if he's available, man, just, yeah, make it happen. Make it happen. But it's difficult, man, because I think I want Baleba, but Camavinga's just saying else, man, for me. So Blue Edit says, even if we can't get central midfielder, if we get Donnarumma, we should be good. Yeah, but Donnarumma's not going United for me. Donnarumma's not playing, man. He's not going Man United. He's because Onana's not going anywhere for a start. Onana's not going anywhere, and you know, I just think that everything is leaning towards Man City. But again, Ederson needs to leave for that to happen, which Galatasaray have actually made a bid for Costa. They're a Costa of Porto, so you probably think that you know, the Ederson deal hangs in the balance. But I just can't see Man United getting Donnarumma. I just can't see it, and especially if Onana's staying, because if Onana stays, you can't have Donnarumma and Onana as two goalkeepers, two number ones, really. You know what I mean? You know, and Onana's on about, you know, he's on more than 100 grand a week, and again, yeah, I just don't see that happening. You know, so. But yeah, central midfield for me is the priority. 100% is the priority. And as I said, hopefully there's some business that's being done on that. Wayne Griffin says, Gav, which position do you play? So I play as a striker or as a number 10, left-footed as well. So yeah, obviously when I was younger, you know, I played more as a striker. You know, as I got older, I played more as a number 10. So yeah, that's my position, man. So Arsenal Pakistan cricket team says, do you think Bernal needs to leave Barca? No. No, there's no reason for Bernal to leave Barcelona. Again, he's still young. He's come off the back of a big injury as well. So they're going to obviously try and ease him in, you know, to back into the squad, back into contention. But yeah, there's no reason for him to leave. Definitely not. Definitely not. He's still got a lot of room for improvement, and he's got to establish himself, you know, as a you know, on the bench, if anything, you know, because he's not going to get into that lineup, their main lineup. But again, he's going to have to establish himself into the squad, you know, when he gets his game time, take his chances. But yeah, there's no reason for him to leave. Definitely not. Big up to Broderick. Big up for coming through. Blue Edit says, what is with Rashford? He said it's sad to see United in a situation, but Amarim claimed he wasn't putting in any effort here last season. Yeah, listen, you know what? I can't bother to talk about Marcus Rashford and his issues with Amarim. As I said before, Amarim clearly, obviously, had an issue with Rashford. Whether he's saying it's his effort, I don't know. I wasn't there to see it, but again, Amarim has decided to not include him. Rashford's on loan at Barcelona. A dream move for him. And again, Rashford's obviously got a World Cup coming up. He's got to obviously put in some performances to try and get himself into that squad. And do I believe Barcelona take up the option to sign him on a permanent? I don't. I think Barca will send him back because I think Barca might be looking at who's the next up-and-coming player. And I think the fact that Rashford's on high wages as well, they probably look at getting someone for slightly cheaper in terms of the money. So, yeah, I think unless Rashford has an unbelievable season, I can't see Barca taking up the option. So he's going to come back to United, in my opinion. And if Amarim's there, which I don't think he will be, who knows? Rashford might be back into the team, or the club might just cut their losses and move him on. Who knows? But for me, I've heard obviously some of the interview that he done. I've not watched it, but I've heard some of it. But again, it's pointless talking about Rashford because Rashford should have been gone for me about 2 or 3 seasons ago. But the fact that he's out on loan now, and again, it's good news that he's finally got out of the club because this was a guy that divided the fan base, and he was someone that was put ahead of other players, rightly or wrongly. But the fact that he's out now on loan, he's got to prove himself on loan, and that's all there is to it, really. Chris and Mark says, who's the most deluded Premiership fans? Has to be Arsenal. Has to be. Yeah. I'll go with Arsenal. Big up, though. Chris and Mark says, Man City do look dangerous, but don't count out Sunderland. Yeah, listen, Sunderland, first game of the season against West Ham, 3-0. I think definitely they were impressive, man. And they spent a lot of money. The fact that they brought in Granit Xhaka as well as captain was a big statement. I actually think they might actually do well this season because I had them tipped as going down because I think the gap between the Premiership teams and the Championship teams, I think is only going to get bigger. So the fact that Sunderland, beat West Ham comprehensively 3-0 and could have been more as well is a good start. But again, early days, but the way they've started, man, is impressive, man. No doubt. Chrism Ark says, I personally hope Onana stays, fella. But yeah, listen, when I'm seeing the likes of Rasmus Højlund still there, I know it looks like he might be on his way. Bruno Fernandes still there. Mason Mount's on 250, cost 60 mil, number 7 on his back. Luke Shaw's been there for almost a decade as well. He's on 190. Who else is there? Manuel Ugarte costs 60 million and is a terrible footballer. When I'm seeing all these things, I'm not really of the opinion that Onana is a bigger problem than those players because those players, for different reasons, are all a bigger problem than Onana for me. As I've mentioned, you got Mason Mount that's got number 7 on his back and costs 60 mil when on 250. Bruno Fernandes, is a massive problem because he's being shoehorned into this team when he shouldn't be playing at all and should have been moved on for the 100 million. As I said, Luke Shaw, almost a decade at the club, is on 190 and spent half his time out injured. Rasmus Højlund is the worst striker in the league for me and costs 72 million. Garnacho looks like he's on his way, but he's not good enough and has been hyped up by this fan base. So all these things in place, the whole Onana thing, I know Onana hasn't been great, but I think some fans for me need to park it because until these other things are done, we can't really be pushing Onana out because as bad as he has been, he hasn't been worse for me than the players that I've just mentioned for different reasons. Scott Free says, what do you do for a living? I make content. I'm a personal trainer as well. And yeah, that's what I do, man. Big up. Dominic FR says, what was the most legendary era of football to you? Most legendary era? There's been many, but I tell you what, yeah. I used if you was born in the in the early 90s, yeah, or late 90s, Italian football was the place to be, man. Go Lazio, if anyone knows that, man. The Italian league had some players, man. I'm talking about R9s, Roberto Baggio's, George Weah, Giuseppe Signori, Mancini, Totti, Del Piero, Antonio Cassano, Gabriel Batistuta, Enrico Chiesa, Federico Chiesa's dad, Rui Costa. There were so many bad boys, back in the day in Italian football. Again, it's hard to say what was a legendary era. Adriano's era as well. If anyone knows the Emperor, Adriano. Yeah, listen, man. If anyone remembers Roy Mackay at Bayern Munich and Deportivo La Coruña as well. Roy Mackay was ridiculous, Yeah, listen, there's been so many eras, man. It's hard to say one, but if I just go back to, as I said, the Go Lazio era, Italian football and the Adriano era as well. Yeah, listen, there's been some mad ones, but I think the easier thing to say is that the worst era of football, I believe, is now. I think that's the worst era of football. I think the eras before that, football was enjoyable. You had so many good players, the Ronaldinhos of this world. But I think now the quality has never been at its lowest for me, because some of the players that you see now, they can't light a torch to some of these players of the past. Nowhere near it. So yeah, it's hard to say, man. But yeah, I think the era now of football isn't great, man. If I'm being honest. Wayne Griffin says, did Adriano really go bankrupt? Well, obviously, if you don't know the story of Adriano, so his father passed away, and once his father passed away, he went off the rails, really. He ended up. Last I heard with Adriano is that he was up in the favelas in Brazil, getting involved with gangs and crime and stuff like that. That's how much he fell off. I'm not quite sure what he's doing now, or if he went bankrupt. But what I do know is, yeah, once his father passed away, man, he went off the rails, man. Unfortunately, because for me, Adriano was the not in terms of style of player, but was the closest player in terms of impact that I've seen of a Brazilian to R9. He was that good, man, Adriano. Like, if anyone remembers Adriano at Fiorentina on loan, because remember this, when Adriano was about, this was the day of co-owned. I don't think many people know about co-ownership. So co-ownership was a thing in Italian football, and Inter Milan had Adriano, but he was co-owned by Fiorentina and Parma, I believe. And when he was at Parma, when I first saw him, I thought, who's this guy, man? He had literally everything, left-footed, powerful. He had pace. I mean, his shooting was a joke. He was skillful, great touch. So yeah, listen, he was an absolute problem, Adriano. And as I said, went back to Inter, and number 10 on his back, and this is where he flourished, and if anyone remembers the goal that he scored, was it the goal, or I'm not sure if it was a goal or he won a penalty, I can't remember, where he done like a Maradona turn against Valencia and got fouled. I can't remember if he scored the goal or got fouled, but what a player he was, man. As I said, if anyone remembers Adriano, he was the left-footed version of Ibrahimovic. Like, there was a time playing Pro Evolution Soccer, and you had Adriano and Ibrahimovic for Inter Milan in the same team. And those two there, yeah, listen, man, it was an absolute problem, those two. They were literally the identical players, but just different foot. It was ridiculous. So, yeah, man, top player Adriano. But I'm not sure if he went bankrupt. I'm not too sure. Do you think that Park Ji-sung would dominate in today's era? The thing is, I'm not sure if he would dominate, but he would definitely be one of the better players in world football, you would say. Because I look at players now, and Park Ji-sung was just a workhorse. If anyone remembers Park Ji-sung was actually a number 10. No, number 10? He was actually a winger, sorry. He was actually a winger, but because coming to the Premiership, he never had blistering pace, and he was more of a workhorse. So Ferguson at times played him, centrally to go and do a job, So, yeah, but if Park Ji-sung was in this era of football now, he'd probably be one of the better players. And again, Park Ji-sung was no world beater. He was someone that was multifunctional and could do a job. But if he come to this era of football now, he'd be one of the better players. And that just shows you how much football has kind of dropped off, because, yeah, there's no way Park Ji-sung was regarded as one of the best players in Europe. He was a very good player, but not one of the best players in Europe. And as I said, man, yeah, he's a very multifunctional player, I would say. So yeah, that's that really. But guys, listen up. Only a short one today, because obviously I've got to shoot out. But big up yourselves for coming through each and every time. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you sub to the channel. And as I said, let me know what you think about Camavinga or Carlos Baleba. Do you think Camavinga is should be the midfield signing rather than Baleba? Or do you think Man United should still be targeting Baleba? Because for me, Baleba is a signing that I want. But if Camavinga becomes available, then yeah, I'm sorry, man. You have to go and get him. You have to go and get him. So one to watch, guys. One to watch. Obviously, United have been linked with Lucien Agume as well of Sevilla. I like Agume. I do think he's good. But the thing for me is I think United need a left-footed central midfielder. And I think they have to be looking at someone like Camavinga or Baleba as the #1 target. So if Agume comes in, I mean, relatively cheap price as well. I think 35 mil, I think, from what's been quoted. Again, I wouldn't mind the signing, but again, it's another right-footed player. So I just think United need to go and get a left-footed central midfielder. Yeah, and it needs to be either Baleba or Camavinga. So, yeah, that's where I see it happening. But who knows? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But, guys, big up yourselves each and every time for coming through. I will be back, guys, if there's any news that breaks. So, yeah, keep an eye on the schedule. Keep an eye on notifications. So, if any news breaks, any major news, then I will be back on. But, yeah, no, much appreciated you guys for coming on. Big up yourselves each and every time. And I'm going to catch you guys in a bit. Take it easy.